Hello and welcome to the Spectre Approved podcast, a video games podcast where two gamers play through a game where Goku and Cell's illegitimate children fight each other for their father's approval. I'm your host Adam, and once again I'm joined by Fenris. How you going?
I'm doing well, how are you?
Yeah, good thanks. Work's been a bit annoying this past couple of weeks, but I've applied for a new job within the same org, so hopefully I get that. It's a bit more cruisy on the hours, very much project based, so as long as the work gets done, they don't really care when I do it, which would be great for a podcasting schedule.
Yeah.
And just general life, I think, work-life balance in general.
Good.
Yeah.
Well, I recently had a change myself. I took a demotion to have more free time, which is why my schedule changes was so drastic, to having Wednesday, Thursday, Friday off to only having Wednesday, Thursday off and having nights off, so...
Yep. And that's definitely something I've done in the past as well. Like, lost a couple of hours to do it, but I guess it's worth it in the end. It's worth your sanity. Like, you can't work anyway if you're completely burnt out. And being able to get your sleep cycle back into what is, I guess, the normal cycle for most people will be beneficial as well.
That's good. I'm glad to hear it.
Yeah. Before we jump into what the game is for today, is there anything over the past couple of weeks that you've been playing or watching, or anything that you want to talk about media-wise or pop culture-wise?
Not really. Once again, just more 14 and Chrono Trigger and the next game that we've picked.
Yep. Yeah, pretty much the same for me. And from the correspondence that we got regarding this game, and thank you to everyone that did write in, I thought this game would be a lot shorter than what it ended up being for me. Because everyone's like, oh, this is a really short JRPG. But what they meant by that was it's under 50 hours. I was expecting like a 10 hour kind of JRPG. But it could have just been my playstyle as well, that kind of things took me a lot longer than I thought they potentially should have.
Yeah, I knew it wasn't going to be a, by today's standards, traditional 60-plus hour JRPG. And I believe, looking up on how long to beat, the minimum time to beat it is like 23 hours, and then it jumps up to like 30, 40 hours or something like that.
Yep. Yeah, How Long to Beat and I have a pretty love-hate relationship, because there's definitely games on there that I've gone, oh yeah, that's a quick 8-hour game, I can smash that out for backlog golf, and then it's taken me like 15, 16 hours, and I'm like, what are the, like, obviously because it's user-based, it's very skewed, and some people are going to be putting in times when it's their like 5th or 6th playthrough, or they're using a guide. I don't know that a lot of the initial, like the base times for completion, are quite as accurate as potentially they are, but everyone has different play styles, so I acknowledge that as well.
Yeah. I actually ended up using a guide for the latter half of the game just to make sure I wasn't missing anything, because I found out early on I think I missed a boss somehow. I don't know.
That's normally a good thing when you can skip a boss.
Yeah.
But yeah, I also ended up using a guide probably just after you reach the end of time. Yeah, I started getting a bit lost then. But so people know what we're actually talking about, like you mentioned, Chrono Trigger, made by Square before it merged with NX and released for the Super Nintendo in March 1995 in Japan, and later in August in North America. So this game was really, really beloved at the time because it had what's called a dream team in the development cycle. You had Hironobu Sakaguchi, creator of Final Fantasy, Yuji Horii, the mastermind behind Dragon Quest, and Akira Toriyama's art as well. So it really was a trifecta coming on there. And what was your kind of history with the game?
Honestly, this is the
series,
first
really?
time I've ever played it.
Yeah,
It's a game that I've wanted to play because its spiritual successor, pseudo-successor, sequel is probably one of my favorite games of all time, and that's Chrono Cross. So after playing that and loving it and, endless of hours in that game and then coming back to this game was kind of a shock. Although, with the time era that this game came out in, it's not surprising how shocking it was comparing this to Chrono Cross.
yep. Because the Chrono series, for want of a better word, was one of your 5 picks.
Yes.
From our wheel. So I had a very, I guess, limited kind of exposure to this. My first home console was a Nintendo 64, so I definitely didn't play it at the time. However, I acquired it when I got a 3DS, because we're looking probably 2014. I picked up a 3DS, pretty late adopter once again. And one of the friends I had at my workplace at the time said, "Oh, you can turn a 3DS basically into an emulation machine that can play just about anything." And I'm like, "No, what is this?" I was very new to like piracy or the emulation and modding scene. So he talked me through how to soft mod my 3DS, and I picked up the SNES version, and he put the SNES ROM of Chrono Trigger on there. And I got probably to 2300 AD and then put it down for a variety of reasons, which we'll discuss when we talk about the mechanics of the game. However, because Fenris, you and I had such little exposure to this game in particular, I threw it out to the community for some feedback about their experiences as well. And we got quite a bit, which was great to see. It's obviously a popular game in the gaming sphere.
Yeah, it's definitely one that you hear about all the time when you talk about JRPGs.
Yeah, most definitely. And I think, well, I know some of my opinions. We talked back and forth a lot while we were playing this game as well. And I know some of my opinions definitely don't marry up with the wider communities. So we'll hear from them first before we hear from me and us. Would you like to start us off with Dalton's feedback?
Sure. He says, I've played Chrono Trigger via SNES, DS, and PC. Needless to say, I like the game. Do you have a standout character? Do you think it deserves the hype? Why is Marl such a dumb name?
Yeah, so we'll go through and answer those questions a bit later. But I just want to, because I reached out to Dalton and I'm like, because Dalton runs the Steam Machine podcast for those that don't know, and he also did a very early episode on Chrono Trigger himself. And I'm like, How did you actually pronounce that? Because it's been a while since I've listened to the episode. Do you pronounce it Marl or Marley? And he's like, oh, Marley. And I'm like, that's also how I pronounce it. I don't know whether it's a backwoods kind of thing, because we're both kind of from the backwoods, so we pronounce it Marley. But I went, because there's no voice acting in this game, I went through thinking that it was pronounced Marley. So I'm guessing you're on Team Marl, Fenris?
I guess it's just the way I first pronounced it and the way I've pronounced it since.
Yep. So I also threw out the question on Infinite Backlog. Shout out to that program being just a fantastic community and also having great mechanisms to track everyone's large backlog of games. So first up was from Sorto85, who said Chrono Trigger was the first RPG I played. Prior to that, I was always dismissive of the genre as it looked slow and boring to me. I thought games like Sonic 2, Ninja Gaiden 2, and Mortal Kombat 3 were how games were meant to be. I gave Chrono Trigger a shot because the graphics looked neat, but I did not expect the epic that unfolded from there. I still replay CT from time to time, but that game is what got me into RPGs.
And then there's another one from Hero Master. This first time I heard CT was when my Japanese teacher in high school recommended it to me. That was particularly difficult of my life, so the memory of my first time trying it out is still strong. Chrono Trigger blew my mind. I still remember the moment of traveling to the ruined future for the first time. I sat and stared at the screen for a good minute, just trying to digest what had happened. The story, one of few examples I can think of. The time travel is done well. The characters, the battle system, the music, oh my, the music. To this day, I earnestly believe that Chrono Trigger is the closest to a perfect game there has ever been. If I did a greatest game of all time list, I would not hesitate to put it at number 1. Maybe that's emotional bias, but we all have that.
And next up was Roy Fuss. I never played JRPGs as a kid. In high school, I tried a few and found I hated random encounters and other aspects of the genre. Today, I usually ignore JRPGs. So, Chrono Trigger has a reputation for being one of the best games of all time. Last year, I decided to give it a shot. I absolutely loved it. The story is perfectly paced and should be studied by everyone writing story structure for video games. No random encounters is a huge perk for me. Also, combat is easy to learn. All of this makes it an outstanding game for non-JRPG fans. He wrote a full review on Infinite Backlog, so go check that out if you'd like to see something in-depth written. I wish I would have played it as a kid. Maybe my opinion of JRPGs would be different today.
And then there's ASM Havoc, who says, I love Chrono Trigger. I played it well after it came out about 12 years ago, but I think it's definitely one of my favorite games of all time. It does everything right that a lot of JRPGs still don't do honestly. It's a game that has an epic story, fun combat, excellent music, but most of all, it respects your time as a player. A lot of JRPGs now have no respect for your time, which is a huge issue for me. Chrono Trigger did it right.
And the well-read mage, Chrono Trigger is indeed my favourite game. I once wrote a 17k word thesis exploring the nature of hyperbole, nostalgia, objectivity in art, and the reliability of history regarding Chrono, which was altogether fulfilling and terrifying, lol. Really, Chrono is the game I give credit for driving me to become a freelance writer and published author today. I remember working on a novelization for it way back in my preteen years. What a beautiful game.
And that goes on to King BK. Chrono Trigger is an excellent game. The 16-bit era has a lot of wonderful JRPGs in particular on the Super Nintendo. Chrono, Final Fantasy VI, 3 in the US. Earthbound, I think, are wonderful games. Expedition 33 has been such a joy for me now that I want to dust off my Super Nintendo and give these a revisit again.
And I also look forward to checking out Expedition 33 in more detail. That
As
game
do
is
I.
definitely worth the hype from what I've been played. Yeah. Gilson Fornius. I absolutely love Chrono Trigger. Remember back in the days when I used to roam freely on that park just to not progress the story and not see Marl go away into that portal.
Oh,
Do you want to
sorry.
read TN5421? Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, and then TN5421. Somehow I didn't come into contact with Chrono Trigger until it received a DS remake. My opinion on it, Chrono Trigger was a top contender even before I realized it was a remake. And then the last
And
one.
last but far from least is John BLZ. Chrono Trigger is one of the 3 major SNES games I never played as a kid, along with Super Metroid and Earthbound. But it's also the only one of these 3 that didn't disappoint me when I finally played it. I haven't finished it yet, but it's got ideas that are still fresh to this day. I don't think it will be the game I consider to be the best SNES JRPG when I finish it, but I could see it being third behind Ridra no Hiho and Star Ocean. Thank
Okay.
you very much for everyone for your contributions. Might be something that we do from now on is throw it out to the community because it's great hearing your guys' feedback because it might be a completely different opinion to ours, which is always great to hear.
Yeah.
So, as was mentioned in a couple of those feedbacks, the story and setting is definitely a strong point. So, Fenris, how would you kind of describe the setting for Chrono Trigger?
High fantasy.
Yep.
Wibbly wobbly, timey wimey bullshit. A great cast of characters that are well rounded. They each have their strengths and weaknesses. I mean that's pretty much it. I mean it's set in its own world. It's like the characters are well fleshed out and not necessarily with a whole lot of backstory, but just enough to give you a sense of who they are. And
Yep.
I mean outside of that, it's just a straight high fantasy setting.
Yeah, so you start off the game, at least, as Chrono, Goku's illegitimate son, in my opinion. I love Toriyama-san, may he rest in peace. I love his artwork overall, but damn, some of his characters look similar.
He does have a type of art that he definitely sticks to.
Yep. So Chrono just wakes up in 1000 AD, which is the present time for the game. And he goes to a local fair, millennial fair actually, which is celebrating 1,000 years of the town where he lives. And he meets a strange girl called Marl, or Marley. I'm just going to say Marley from now on because that's how I was saying it. And they meet Chrono's friend, who builds a time machine, Luca. She's built a time machine and is doing a demonstration and uses Marley as like a test subject. And because of the pendant that she's wearing at the time, she ends up being transported back in time. And Chrono, being the hero that he is, goes after her. And hijinks ensue from there. And you end up saving the world by the end. So I guess in terms of overall plot, it's at the time in 1995 that just would have blown my mind, I think, with the epicness of it all.
Yeah.
um, and the different time settings as well. Like, yeah, it's time travel bullshit, and a lot of it doesn't necessarily line up when you really delve deep into it. It'd be really interesting, I think, and when I have some spare time, I might go back and do this, is reading the well-read mages 17,000 word thesis on that, because I'm sure they have picked the game apart to no end, and it'd be interesting to see how much and how little the time travel stuff goes. Because I'm an overall fan of time travel stuff. Like, I like Doctor Who to a point. I've kind of fallen off the last couple of seasons. I like Steins Gate. I like anything that kind of has a time travel element to it. And I think overall, it does this to a really good standard in terms of the story.
Agreed. Time travel has always been one of the wonders of the sci-fi fantasy world that I think everybody has an awe and appreciation of, just because of the thought of what you could do.
Yep. So there's, I guess, what, 7 different time periods in this?
Present, Middle Ages, the future, I guess the end of time,
Yep.
and then 12,000 BC, which is the Dark Ages.
You've also got 65 million BC, prehistoric era,
Yeah.
and 1999, which is the day that the world ends. At this point, I'm going to throw out a spoiler warning. I know it's a game from 1995, but as you saw from Fenris and my experiences, and also some of our correspondents, some people still haven't played this game. So we will be keeping it spoiler-free as much as we can, up until our spoiler wall, similar to our Assassin's Creed episode. So I guess each of the different time periods, they're markedly different, but it's a real strength of this game that they also remain the same, because the time travel mechanics in this are just that, just time travel, not space travel. And it wasn't until you pointed out to me, actually, Fenris, that once you get to a certain point in the game where you travel around the world or the time periods freely, when you go from, say, the Middle Ages to the future, you literally stay in the same place.
Yeah.
It literally just progresses you forward or backward in time, which is really, really cool. And really good in terms of traversal.
Yeah, because I feel like it just keeps things a bit simple.
Yeah, 100%.
And not overcomplicated.
Particularly in some of the side quests, which for a JRPG there aren't too many, which I was appreciative of. And they're not, or you can't really do majority of them till close to endgame. But when you have to go from different eras, particularly the one where you get Chrono's endgame weapon, you do a bit of traversal there between Middle Ages, present, future, Dark Ages, and yeah, it's just, I was very thankful that I didn't have to go back and traverse a heap, because that's kind of where I fell off the first time. In the first time you go to the future in 2300 AD, particularly when you're moving back and forth there, and the stupid fucking hover car race.
I didn't have any issues with that. Everyone I've talked to has said they hated it.
I lost so many fucking times with that, and it's what ended up with me dropping the game, just about. I pushed through, and got to the end of time, which is very much your kind of start point where the game opens up. But yeah, that was a big one for me. Were there any kind of was there a time period that stood out to you more than the others that you either liked or disliked?
I wasn't really a fan of the prehistoric era, but I think I enjoyed the Middle Ages, the 680 era.
Yep. Yeah, that was also a favorite of mine. I think mainly because of the characters, though.
Yeah.
I found the Dark Ages really interesting. How they kind of had the future but in the past kind of thing going on with the floating city and how they were run by magic. In the Kingdom of Zeal, which is this floating city that kind of floats over the earth and is run by magic, and there's a real type of caste system there, because if you aren't born with magic or don't have magical ability, you're basically a second class citizen and you're forced to live on the ground in kind of like the slums kind of area.
Yeah.
I also wasn't too much of a fan of prehistoric era. The enemies didn't really do much for me. I thought it would be really cool fighting dinosaurs. The party member you meet there she's great.
She's friggin' powerhouse.
Game breaking, yeah, game breaking if you build her right, Ayla. And I'm kind of disappointed that Chrono couldn't become his own grandfather by romancing Ayla. And the future, I wasn't too fussed on the future either. I get where it was going, but again, just from some of the mechanics in that portion, and also my own kind of ignorance. Just a warning for everyone: I'm gonna shit on the first kind of couple of hours of this game a bit, because I had a terrible time. But it's after talking with Fenris and working out some mechanics I should have known about. It's my own fault. So it's not the game's fault. I'm fully willing to take the blame with that one.
Honestly, I can't fault you for that, because I had to play around with a lot of things before I found the same things, and it just makes the game a lot easier to play.
Yep. So we might start talking. That might lead us into gameplay mechanics then, because it's turn-based RPG. But like some of our correspondents said, you have overworld sprites in which you engage in battle the majority of the time. Sometimes you walk into an area and you've got a battle you can't avoid. However, this game does things well in the fact that you can avoid enemies through traversal to a point. But the fucking combat speed is what really got me really, really slow. And because you start out so weak, it was just banging my head against a brick wall for the first couple of hours of this game. It was basically using Chrono to attack, and then healing with Marley. I was healing like every second or third turn. It was fucking ridiculous, if I'm being honest.
And that'll lead us into one of the mechanics that we both missed, which is auto battle.
Yep. If I'd known that was around, I would have just grinded up like I do in most other JRPGs and been fine.
Because I think you were near the end of the game when I told you about it, and it just blew your mind that it was a thing.
Yep. I literally only had side quests and the final boss to go.
And here I am. I'd been using auto battle for every battle outside of boss battles since halfway through the game.
Yeah. So that had really made me avoid combat in the second half of the game, so I was also quite underleveled. I think I was only level 35 going up to the end boss. Which isn't a good idea, because this differs from JRPGs as well, that grinding is a bit of a different kind of thing if you want to do it. The game balance is really good, essentially, if you battle everything you come across.
Yeah.
I feel like you wouldn't really have to grind. Like you could, the last boss would be hard without any grinding. Um, but you can just play through the game, and if you battle everything you come across, you won't have an impossible time beating the last boss.
No, and I
So,
I feel like Chrono Cross is much the same, although Cross doesn't really deal in levels. It deals more in the technical abilities that you can gather as you go. But
yep.
I just treated this game like a regular RPG and just fought everything I came across.
Yeah, the only problem, well, no, it's not a problem with auto battling, is you only get to use your physical attacks
Yeah.
because the game has three different types of attack. Your physical attack, which is just your attack button, you basically just spam A as that goes through. And then you've got your technical attacks, like Fenris mentioned just then, and magic attacks as well. Um, but another strength of this game is the party composition in using those techs and magic, because the more you use a certain party, the more technical and magic attacks it unlocks that become more powerful. Um, these turn into dual attacks between two characters and triple techs when you use three party members enough
And the
and
cool
earn
thing
enough
about
TP.
that is the fact that you had different attacks depending on your party composition.
Yep. Yeah, and I think it marries up really well with the magic as well, because I unlocked a triple tech between three party members that was using each of their elemental magics, and it just led to one-shotting majority of like game stuff, unless they had a resistance to the magic.
That's fair. I later on in the game I unlocked a lot of the well, probably all of the triple tech attacks, but I barely used them. I think the most I used was Delta attack with Luca, Chrono, and I think it was Marl. I don't remember, but I
Uh,
used that one the most
yeah,
on one of the final bosses. I can't remember.
yep. Yeah, I didn't find stats really came into play. It really focused on gear and the tech use. Because you still did have stats, your health, your power, your speed, magical defense, physical defense. All those were kind of attributes that still leveled up with you.
Hmm.
However, where you could really min max it is through your gear and your tech use. I found definitely.
Anytime I came across a new piece of gear, I always looked for whoever had the lowest in that stat, and I gave it to them. Because I
Yep.
learned a long time ago that just because you have a main character doesn't mean all the best gear goes on them.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, particularly when you get to one story point with a main character as well. Hey. Um,
Yeah.
but we'll save that for the spoiler wall. Um, and I think it's a really good throwback, even though this was 1995, we're still looking 87, 88, because that's exactly what you had to do in the first Dragon Quest and the first Final Fantasy, isn't it? Every time you got to a new town, you spent what money you grinded from mobs to upgrade gear for your party,
Hmm.
because that kind of you needed that level to beat that boss. And I think this game did that really well as well. It really, like, every time you picked up something new or a new mechanic, that's what you had to kind of use against the boss, to a point. Because I'll throw this over to you, because you um, were telling me that you had some, I guess, criticism of how the bosses in this game were utilized.
Yeah, again, coming from Chrono Cross, where, it deals heavily in elements like this game does. Each boss had an innate element that they would be not necessarily attuned to, but like for reference, every party member has an element. So like Chrono was light, Marl was water, Robo was darkness, although he was more physical because he couldn't cast magic.
Yep.
Magus was darkness, and then Luca was fire. So those were
Yep.
their innate elements that they all had, and it played heavily into the techs that they could use. So
Mm-hmm.
coming from Chrono Cross, where every enemy, every boss, also had an innate element that they were, you could see that, and you could plan accordingly to what attacks you would do to dish out the most damage. And in this game, probably due to, constraints of the time, you couldn't do that. So the elemental magic is just pick something and hope it works. Or use a guide. Another thing is that, and this is something that I wasn't really expecting, was each boss had a set of mechanics that you had to figure out. And because I wasn't expecting that, like, it kind of threw me, and it was frustrating at the beginning.
Yep. Did you have some problems with the dragon tank?
Yeah.
Because that was kind of my first wall.
Yeah, it was the first boss you came to, and judging by or remembering what the mechanics for that one was by the final boss fight, the head healed everything. The wheel did some kind of super damaging dash attack, and then there was the body.
Yep.
But like most, no, I don't. I don't think you killed the entire boss if you killed the head first. I don't remember.
I think you
But
just stopped it from healing.
yeah, I think it just stopped it from healing. But I mean, any time in any RPG that you ever play, if there is a healing element to an enemy, you always want to attack that first. So, I mean, that one was a fairly straightforward one for me.
Yep.
And then
Yeah.
I gotta say, I don't really remember any of the other bosses.
Okay. I feel like it was real trial and error with some, because some, if you used a certain attack or even attack them physically without magic, you just get wrecked by their like ultimate attack or ultimate counter, which I feel is good boss design. At the end of the day, it's been a long time since I've actually had to use my brain when fighting a boss.
Yeah.
One that gave me a lot of friggin' trouble, I think just because it was tanky, was the dark Tyranno in 65 million BC. I think it was just really tanky, or you had to attack the caster that was standing on his shoulder
Yeah.
first. That one gave me a lot of trouble. Magus also gave me a lot of trouble just because of his
Oh
just
yeah,
the
his
damage output.
freaking mirror ability.
Yep.
Because the way his
Yeah.
mechanics worked, where like he would use a magic ability, let's just say light, and then really quickly at the very top of the screen, kind of a blink and miss it kind of deal, it would say he is casting this, and he is immune to all damage except for this.
Yep. Yeah, so if you brought the wrong party into a boss fight, you were gonna lose.
Because
Which could
once
be
you,
frustrating.
yeah, and once you unlock magic with all your characters, like you really have to strategize because like I went into some fights expecting, how over leveled I became, like just to just auto battle my way through, and you know, if my auto attack damage was just doing like 12 damage, I would switch to magic and bam, I'm doing like 500 damage.
Yep. Yep. And I feel like speed was definitely the priority in terms of stat, perhaps over attack.
Yeah,
Um,
because of the
be-
ATB gauge, yeah.
yep. Yeah, so even when you have it on weight, I still feel like it's not pure JRPG. It's more the ATB,
Yeah.
active time battle still. Um, because there was a boss. Admittedly, it was a side quest, but it just fucking stun locked me. Because my characters didn't have enough speed, and it had a downing attack. That boss on the way for Luca's ultimate weapon, the Sunstone boss. I'm sure there were ways around it, but I just had to grind it out and be higher level than it and have higher speed. And some of the bosses had really cool mechanics, like you'd attack a certain part and it would be resistant, and then it'd have like a roulette move where it moved its part that's weak to, say, light to a different part that you couldn't track, and you just had to guess
Trial and error.
what part was weak to what. In terms of movement mechanics, again, the SNES had a D-pad, so you got your basic parts there, but I fell off a lot of shit still. I didn't find the movement great when you had to do the almost platforming parts.
Yeah.
Like in Death Mountain, how you had to stay behind the tree, otherwise you get blown off. I did that part quite a few times.
I did too. And it wasn't really a movement thing. It was, let's backtrack a little bit. I played on keyboard and mouse. I'm assuming you used a controller?
I did, yeah.
Okay. So, I had to redo my keybinds a few times, and, the game isn't really good about telling you what your keybinds are. It's good about telling you what your buttons are, and I didn't have any buttons. So I was having to memorize which keys on my keyboard matched the A, B, X, Y, left bumper, right bumper, and that was frustrating to me. But I mean, I eventually figured it out and got everything mapped out to where I could, successfully remember it. So doing Death Mountain and having to deal with the wind, like there was a certain button that you had to push, I guess, to like dig your heels in against the wind or something, and
Yeah.
that was a little frustrating, but I mean, I made it through. And I feel
Yeah,
like it
I
would
can.
probably be a lot easier on controller. I just couldn't find my wire to go to my Xbox controller.
Yep. And I imagine you might have had trouble with the factory in 2300 when you had to do the codes for the door.
Yeah, that was definitely a, pull up the settings, find the
Yep.
keybinds, and just kind of short-term memory memorize the which button was what that I needed. And I thought I was going to have trouble in the present time when you had, or no, the past, the Middle Ages or whatever it was. Oh no, it was the flashback for Luca when you have to go and save her mom, and you have to input the code into the thing to stop the thing from eating her leg.
I don't think I did that. Do you want to talk me through that?
Oh yeah. So, and this is kind of a little tie-in to Chrono Cross because there's similar mechanics, but there is a point of time in the game where it's like a campfire scene, and everyone is talking about like regrets and if they have any, and I think Robo asks Luca if she has any, or maybe it was Marl, I don't remember. And, she just kind of brushes it off, but obviously she did. And then she wakes up and everyone else is asleep, and then you can go off and go through a time gate that just mysteriously appears and it's a different color. And it takes her back 10 years to when she was a child and her mom was doing something with some machine in their house. Um, Her mom's skirt gets caught in the machine and her legs get badly damaged and she's paralyzed. Um, but the way that you stop the machine is by inputting a code into it, and it's LARA. So, I mean, for a controller user, and in Chrono Cross, it would be left bumper, triangle, right bumper, triangle. And that's what I thought I was going to have to do, but letters formed on the screen whenever I had to input the code, so I just, had to shift the cursor over to the proper letter and input the code that way. So I was very thankful for that.
Yeah, okay. Was that a side quest? Because I don't remember that at all.
I think it was. I think it might have been on Luca's side quest. Did you do that one?
Uh,
To get her the sun shot, whatever,
yeah, I
ultimate
did. I don't
pistol.
remember that though. I know that Luca and Robo had a kind of tie-in with Robo's side quest as well.
Yeah.
I don't remember that at all. Because I think we both played the Steam version, yeah?
Yes.
Yeah, we did. Which is just a port of the DS version. Which is great because it comes with some new content and a few little graphical things as well.
For those that aren't aren't aware, the DS version is the remake version of the original PlayStation game. Or maybe it's the other way
Okay.
around.
Right. See, I didn't know that. um, this game got released a lot because it was very popular.
Yes.
I also feel like, was it the DS version or the remake that had the better reputation for the translation?
Maybe?
Because there was the Ted Woolsey translation, which he did all like the early Final Fantasies as well. Um, had a and one of the translations for this game had a reputation for being not great. I personally didn't have a problem with what I saw from this. Like, the dialogue fit in with the story well. The names of items matched what they were, I guess. I didn't have any problem.
I didn't either, and I just fact checked myself, and the PlayStation and everything from then on, console wise, was the remake re release because, as you've already mentioned, and I completely forgot, the original came out on the SNES.
Yep. So that's all I've got in terms of mechanics. Do you have anything else you want to add?
Um, no, the only thing that I can think of is that, like, I wish, and granted, once again, we're locked into an era of games where they couldn't do a whole lot, and with what they did a good job, but I wish that they would have, you know, done a little bit more with the elements.
Yep.
As far as like weaknesses and stuff, and I know I've already gone over this, but like, I just feel like sometimes the elements didn't really matter, and sometimes they did. But, when you think of elemental magic, I'm pretty sure the majority of everyone who has ever played a game, uh, thinks weaknesses, light against dark, water against fire, stuff like that. And I
Yep.
don't think we got anything like that in this game.
No. So yeah, that would have been cool.
Yeah, and once again, I'm pulling my knowledge from Chrono Cross because that's how the elements work in Chrono Cross. Red and blue magic cancel each other out, and they're weak against each other. White and black magic cancel each other out because they're weak against each other. But I don't think we got any of that in this game.
No, but it probably really paved the way for it in Chrono Cross.
Absolutely.
Although we had that kind of thing in the early Final Fantasies, didn't we? And that was 87, 88. So it was there, but for whatever reason they didn't want to put it in at the time. Like you said, there might have been crunch and just everything going on there. Square was they were the JRPG gurus back then.
Yeah.
So everybody kind of just rolled with what they went with as well.
Yeah. So shall we get on to the story?
Hi everyone, Adam here. Fenris and I got really deep into spoiler territory once we started talking about the plot of the game, so I am putting our spoiler wall here for those that don't know or don't want to know the spoilable plot for Chrono Trigger. So please check out Spectre Approved on all our socials, listen to it and rate it where you get podcasts, and join us for our next episode on Jedi Fallen Order. For those coming back, I've got some spoiler wall music as the main theme of the game, so have a quick listen to that and then we'll jump back into the story. Yeah, so like I mentioned before, Chrono, Mal, and Luca are all from the present, which is 1000 AD, and after Chrono jumps in after Mal, back in 600 AD, the Middle Ages, you end up picking up a party member in each kind of time period you go to and kind of solve their problems, what's going on for them. So in the Middle Ages, you meet Frog, who's a frog knight, and kind of sort out the kingdom there and dealing with Mal's ancestors. And then you jump to the future where you meet Robo, who's a robot, and he's got a particular connection to Luca.
Mm-hmm.
And this is where you first learn about Lavos, who, because when you go to the future, it's post-apocalyptic. I should say that. It's not a bright utopia where humanity's really flourished.
No.
Humans have basically been all but wiped out. They don't have food. They're barely hanging on. And it's where you first hear about this thing called Lavos. And then after that, you go to the end of time, which is kind of like your hub world. And there's an old man there who tells you, oh, yep, Lavos is what destroyed the world in 1999. Doesn't give you too much context, but basically something apocalyptic happened in 1999 that caused the bleak future of 2300 AD. And that's also where you get your magic activated, and it's also where you have a portal to each of the kind of areas that you go to from there.
Mm-hmm.
With the end of time, something really funny, because it's where you activate your character's magic in a side room called by a fellow called Seppico.
Seppico, I think it was.
Yeah, and he has some hilarious dialogue to each of your party
Yeah.
members, in regarding that. The one that stands out to me is when he meets Alia, or Ayla, who's the cave woman, for want of a better word, back in 65 million BC. And he goes, "Oh, magic didn't exist in your time, but you look really cute, but you can't use magic." And
Yeah.
I'm just like, "Oh, okay. That's a bit weird, man." But okay.
And then tying on to that, I think my favorite one of those was when he meets Magus. He's like, "Oh, this guy's overflowing with magic. You should learn something from him."
Yeah. And then next, is it 65 million BC?
After the end of time, you go back to 600. You meet Frog and you help him overcome some stuff, and
Yep.
then you find the Masamune, and then through, I guess, a personal side quest of his, you kind of help him regain his sense of purpose, because there is something that happens, I don't really remember, and he feels like he's not able to protect the king and queen, so he kind of goes into like this self-desert, not desertment, banishment, and then you just
Yep.
kind of help him, you know, gain his confidence back, and then we go back to the prehistoric era, and that's where we meet Ayla, and then really cool cutscene that apparently on the Steam version of this game crashes out if you don't have the right settings done.
Yep. And that ended up being every cutscene for me. So because I game with Discord open majority of the time, it auto links to my Steam profile, and if you have anything linking to your Steam profile while you're playing this game, the cutscenes crash out.
I didn't have that issue though.
Yeah. It must have just been a setting I didn't tick. But I had to like go on Reddit to find out what was going on, because I was getting very frustrated. But the cutscenes were beautiful.
Yeah. I mean, it's Akira Toriyama.
Yep. We need a Chrono Trigger anime, for sure.
Agreed.
I know they released a OVA, but that's just not good enough. We just need a 12 episode
Yeah.
12 episode anime.
But back in the prehistoric era, we meet Ayla, and in fighting against the Reptites, which are lizard people, we go through a whole quest and learn that someone named Azala is controlling them or leading them. And then through a series of events, the party witnesses the fall of Lavos from space, calling an extinction event. And then they learn that Lavos burrows into the earth, beginning a centuries-long influence on evolution.
Mm.
And from there we go back to the Dark Ages, which, or not back to, but we go to the Dark Ages, which is the magic place, the magic city, and of Zeal. And we learn of that this magical kingdom is powered by Lavos' energy via something called the Mammon Machine. And then we meet Shala and her brother Janus. And then we learn that Queen Zeal is corrupted by Lavos' power because, absolute power corrupts. And after more questing, we fight, I think it's Queen Zeal, and she summons Lavos, and Chrono gets vaporized, just dead. doesn't exist anymore. And everyone's upset, and they use the time egg, which is what they got from the old man and the end of time, to escape. And then there's more
Yep.
questing to resurrect Kronos. We had to go back to present time to the fair and using the time egg and getting a doppel which I'm assuming is a shortened phrase for doppelganger.
Yeah.
We
So if I could just jump in.
Yeah.
Because I nearly got really pissed off here because I'm like, if I have to do that fucking quest with the mirror again, because again, don't know what it was like on keyboard and mouse, but the controller input wasn't great. There was an input lag, so it's actually almost impossible to complete the mirror quest. So I failed this over and over at the start. Because I did a little bit of research and just go, oh, is there anything? Because I like to maximize my playthrough in one go if I can. I'm like, oh, is there anything that's going to trip me up later on? And they're like, oh, try and get the doppel at the start, just to save you some time. And I'm like, oh, okay. So I tried and just failed over again. So I was really happy, and I don't know if it does this in the original SNES version, but at least in the remake, you can just buy the doll after you fail once. Because I'm guessing it might have been feedback, or they were expecting people to have a lot of trouble with that part the second time around. Because I was almost like, what? You can fail if you don't have an item from the very start of the game? That is what pisses me off when you don't have something kind of innocuous in your item set early on and it ends up fucking you later on.
That's the beauty of time travel.
Yeah.
See, I was under the impression by what the NPC said that if we failed, he would just give it to us. I wasn't expecting him to charge us an exorbitant amount of money for. But
it is quite large, but it depends how far through the game you get.
Yeah.
I only had to pay 10,000. And look, by the time you're at this point in the game, money is almost no issue.
Yeah, I think even
because you can get your gear from quests and
because I tried to lower the amount of money, but I was just terrible at that game, so I failed on the first time and ended up paying, I think it was like 20,000-30,000 for it. Or
oh
maybe
my
it was
God,
60,000. I don't remember, but it was a lot. But I mean, at that point in time, I was at like 250,000 gold or whatever it is. So like, it wasn't even an issue to pay that amount of money. And there was only really one time in the game where I spent my entire fortune on gear. I went from 200 and something thousand to like 17,000.
Yeah.
But then in no time I was back to where I was.
Yep.
So anyway, after getting the doppel to resurrect Chrono, they do a really interesting thing where they go back forward into time to where Chrono is vaporized, and before he's vaporized, for whatever reason, there is what Magus calls a time pause, which he's never seen or experienced. It's just a plot mechanic. And they swap out the doppel for actual Chrono, and they save him that way, which was really cool. And then I lost my train of thought.
Oh, so you have Chrono back in your party, and you go back to the end of time.
That's it.
And yeah, basically, he then says, "Oh, you can you can either go do all these side quests or you can go fight Lavos back in 1999.
Yeah.
Yep.
Which, I mean, out of all this, which of the side quests did you not do?
So it'd be easier if I said the ones I did, because I didn't do too many at all. I only did Chrono, Luca, and Frog, because they were my 3 that I took into the final boss fight.
Okay. I did all of them.
Okay, cool.
So, Frog's quest was, I feel, for me personally, I feel like it was the best one, because he lays, for a little bit of backstory, Frog is like a not really a trainee, but he's a follower of a knight of Guardia, and he not necessarily, well, words are failing me. He was very beholden to this knight named Cyrus, and he died in front of Frog's eyes, and Frog became Frog, even though he was human before, long story short. But in his story, you finally lay Cyrus's soul to rest. Robo, his story was pretty cool, because you go to the future and you meet up with his girlfriend, Atropos, and
Okay.
yeah, through I mean it's a boss fight, and Robo and Atropos kind of have the same skill set. And then through more wibbly wobbly timey wimey stuff, you reforest a part of the earth. Luca, it was Luca's side quest, by the way. You prevent or fail to prevent her mother's accident. Marl confronts her father and exposes the corrupt chancellor, which I don't know about you, but I saw that coming from a mile away.
Yep.
Magus.
Yeah, well,
Go ahead.
it's the rehash of what happened back in 600 AD.
Yeah.
Of the poor real chancellor being shoved in the chest, and taken over by a monster. So I must have done Miles as well, because I remember that, because the
Yeah.
king goes on trial, and then
Yeah,
you
the king
fight
goes
the
on trial
boss.
for selling off the rainbow shell because
Yep.
through, again, more wibbly wobbly timey wimey stuff. Because you need the rainbow shell to make prism equipment, which is the best equipment in the game, and in order to do that, you have to go back in the past, get the shell to the castle, and then go back to the future or the present, and then go and collect it, and then have it, all that stuff. But while you're there, you find out that the Chancellor has the king on trial for selling off the rainbow shell, which is now a royal heirloom. And I think it's kind of dumb how this played out, because the party just went down into the cellar and was like, no, here it is. Anybody could walk down here and look at it and see that
Yep.
that's false.
I think the cellar was hidden though.
Oh, yeah, it was.
The
It
part
was.
where the
That's
shell
fair.
was, yeah. Because you had to go back and either defeat an enemy, and then an extra door opened up.
Yeah. And then back to side quests. For Magus, you learn of Shala's fate and confront his past. And then for Ayla, continues to protect her people from threats. And that's really it.
Yep.
As far as the ultimate weapons go, Frog has the Masamune, Robo has, a really cool thing that it does like a percentage of damage based off of the last number of your hit points. And
Ah,
then,
cool.
yeah. I mean, you really get two. You get one that boosts a stat, and then you get one that does the random percentage of your, Luca gets, a sun-powered,
Yep.
gun, and Marl gets I don't remember any of these, but it was a bow. Um, Magus gets some more death stuff, and then Ayla just gets her fists.
Yep, that's all she needs.
Yeah, but the cool thing with Ayla's side quest was the fact that it was armor that she was talking about very early in the game, and so I grinded the fuck out of that armor, and I put it on everybody.
Yeah, nice. Yeah, I ended up with Chrono's weapon, which is the rainbow miles, because I did end up doing that side quest and forgot about. Luca's weapon was a bit hit and miss for me because I didn't realize it used RNG to determine what the percentage of power would be used for it.
Yeah, I didn't really use Luca.
Oh man, she has one. She's basically got a megaton bomb as one of her final techs.
Yeah,
It's fucking
Flare.
fantastic. Yeah, and there's also napalm as well
Yeah.
that she uses that just wrecked mid-game stuff for me, which was really helpful. We've kind of gone a bit further into spoiled territory than I originally thought, but that's alright. I'll chuck the wall back a little bit further. In terms of characters, did you have a favorite character? Or what was your endgame party?
My endgame party was Chrono, Frog, and Magus.
Nice. Yep. Solid party.
Yeah.
There were some story beats in there that were really well done and really good misdirects, I feel. The writers did a great job because I 100% thought for a while that Frog was going to be Cyrus
Me too.
instead of Glenn.
Yeah.
That was a really good kind of misdirect. And I also, Magus being Yanis just threw me as well. I was like, holy shit with that reveal.
Yeah, I didn't see that one coming either.
Yep. I thought Chrono's revival was a bit, how you going? Very much in the way that Goku always seems to come back in Dragon Ball Z.
Yeah.
I thought that was like, oh yeah, they kind of pulled it out of their ass to get him back. But I thought that the fact that you could just continue the game without him was really good.
Yeah, because once he dies, I mean, you can theoretically complete the game without him.
Yep.
He might be the
Yep.
main character, but you don't really need him for the final boss fight.
Yeah. Might touch on the final boss fight before the endings. Because for the first time, I only did one ending myself. Because like I told Fenris, I quit out of the game before the end credits. Because I couldn't skip them, and it was like 2 a.m, and I'm like, I'm not staying up to watch half an hour, 40 minutes of credits. So I just got out of the game, and I was all good. And turns out you need to watch the credits to get access to New Game Plus.
Yeah.
Because there are 16 endings. A lot of endings in this game. Basically going to defeat Lavos at different points in the game. With varying degrees of strength. So almost impossible without New Game Plus being there because you're just not strong enough.
Yeah.
So this is a game that definitely benefits from that if you are someone that wants to complete all the endings. There's also a lot of different permutations because you can choose to kill Magus. You can choose to go ahead without Chrono. And like I said, fighting Lavos at different points in the story, meaning you have different party compositions. But the final boss itself, for the first time anyway, you go to 1999 AD, you crash your time ship into Lavos, and that apparently stops you re-fighting all the bosses because apparently there's a boss rush if you fight him earlier than 1999.
See, I fought him. I think I fought him in the 600s. So I didn't
Okay.
crash the ship into Lavos, which apparently, if you did that, you completely skipped the first phase.
Yep. Yeah, so did you have to fight a heap of bosses, or did Lavos turn into a heap of bosses? Is that what the
Lavos,
first phase is?
yeah, Lavos. I think it's like 5 or 6 different phases. I don't really remember, but it's basically a conglomeration of all the previous bosses that you've faced previously with all the same mechanics, just as Lavos. And if you fight
Yeah.
him in 1999, you crack open what they call the first shell, and
Yep.
you just completely skip the first phase of the fight.
Yep. That's exactly what I did through pure luck. It wasn't until after I'd done it that I read up on it, and I'm like, oh, okay, cool. So how was the first phase? Was it difficult or?
No, as previously stated, the different phases are the different bosses that you fought throughout the game, and the first phase was just, the dragon tank. So like, I knew to attack whatever part of Lavos was healing the rest of them, and then, but at that point I was so over leveled, like it took me 15 minutes to beat the entire thing.
Okay. Um, because yeah, after that first phase where you crack the shell, you come and fight something which is definitely first phase Cell, from Dragon Ball Z, and after that he turns into like last phase Freezer almost. I know it doesn't look like it, but just that from going to this massive entity to this really small, tiny entity, but one that's ultra powerful.
Yeah.
And they do another really good boss trick here where it's not the main body that you want to attack, it's actually the right one. The right hand side
Yes.
is the one that you need to kill there.
I
Because
had
I think the left heals and the center
uh
does like a AoE attack.
yeah, the left healed, the middle did big damage, and the right revived.
Yep.
So you were stuck in a loop of killing the left, maybe killing the center, but still doing massive damage to the right. And I almost gave up and just called it quits on this boss because I got stuck in a death loop of where I was just constantly dying and, resurrecting my party and trying to do this, and it was just frustrating because it, once again, through, trial and error and multiple attacks and different elements, like I just could not find a weakness anywhere, and I just kept dealing low damage.
Yep.
So,
Yeah, I, from memory, think I used the AoE triple tech,
yeah.
um, and that generally wiped out the left and center,
hmm
which gave me a couple of turns to use Lumina, which is Chrono's end tech, and I was just dealing a shit ton from there.
Okay. But
But
once,
that's basically. Oh, you go
oh
ahead.
no, I was just gonna say, yeah, that's basically it. I mean, once you beat that last little bit, you defeated Lavos, and the future is saved.
Yep. Yep. And then the achievements for this on Steam, I'm guessing it'd be the same for Xbox and PlayStation, are all the different endings, uh, which varying difficulties to get, obviously. But yeah, this game would definitely take a long, long time unless you were making save points
Yeah.
to 100%.
Because like I'm looking through a list of the endings. You have a bad ending, the apocalypse, which is uh, allows you to witness in real time the events recorded in the computer in 2300 AD. You have ending 1, Beyond Time. Um, and then, whoa, that's big. Ending 2, which is the reunion. Ending 3, the Dream Project, which is the only one I really know about, which is in the way you defeat Lavos, you go to like this secret room and you meet NPC developers of the game, and you can talk to them. And then you've got ending 4, the successor of Guardia, or the wedding. Ending 5, Goodnight. Ending 7, Unknown Past. Ending 8, People of the Times. Ending 9, The Oath. Ending 10, Dino Age. Ending 12, Memory Lane. Ending 13, Dreams Epilogue, which is apparently a DS, iOS, Android, and Windows exclusive.
Oh, okay. Interesting. Yeah, because I know they added some post-game in the remake.
Oh,
But again, I didn't
ending
really touch it.
13 is a sneak preview of Chrono Cross. Huh. I'm
That's
gonna have to go do
interesting.
that.
And I will watch it on YouTube. But nothing. Yeah, overall, like, I know I had a bad time um, at the start of this game, but I think I'm going to give it a fun overall. Like, I got all the way through,
Yeah.
and by the end, once I'd work out auto battle. Oh, and the map. Didn't even talk about the map. I had no idea there was a world map for 3/4 of the game
Me either. I
until you
stumbled
told
across
me,
it.
and then I hit left bumper at one point and it came up. Beautiful fucking map,
Yeah.
first off. And like you said, that nice scrolling effect, instead of stopping at each corner,
Mm-hmm.
a la Final Fantasy and Dragon Quest once again, was really good. Like, it showed how much of the world there really was. I didn't realize it was that big.
Me either.
Obviously, walking on the overworld, it doesn't seem that big at all. But looking at it, yeah, a lot bigger than I thought. But for my rating for this, I'm going to give it a fun. It was a great time. Very glad I finally got to finish it and didn't just leave it at the point that I left it on the 3DS. Glad I played on PC though.
Yeah, I'm also going to give it a fun. Again, like with Assassin's Creed, there are some caveats, and those are just basically to umbrella it. I feel like everyone I talked to who hyped this game up and said that it is, one of their top 5 favorites or whatever, I feel like everyone was looking at this game through rose-tinted nostalgia goggles. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. I do the same thing with, several games. And also, my experience in Chrono Cross and expecting not necessarily the same, but more similar mechanics kind of not really put it off, but, it was kind of jarring. But I feel like that's what you would get from going to a more modern game to a past game. But I mean, yeah, overall, I enjoyed it, and it was definitely a fun for me. And I mean, with only 13 achievements, I feel like I can go back and play it again and get all of them.
Yeah, whilst it does require a second full playthrough, I feel like once you've set yourself up with that first run through, it's definitely going to be an easy mop up from there.
Yeah.
And it's kind of hyped me up to play Chrono Cross, to be honest. So I'm really looking forward when the wheel spins that.
Yeah, and I'll tell you, like, it is my favorite game, one of them. But, you know, it is an older game coming out. It came out in 1999. But there was a remaster that came out a couple years ago, and that just brushed up the graphics. So, but
Yep.
I'm not going to say too much more about it outside of it's one of my favorite games, and I'll leave you to leave your own opinions whenever we get to it.
Yeah, I've got it on Xbox, and I think they lumped all the expansion or whatever that came with it as well.
Yeah.
Radical Dreamers.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. So once again, thank you everyone for listening. Before I dive into our ending, though, we got to do a wheel spin. So I am going to be away for a little bit. Recording will still be on time. However, because I won't have access to my computer for a week, we did an early spin. Sorry about that, guys. But it ended up on Jedi Fallen series. So with the first of that being Jedi Fallen Order. Again, one of Fenris's picks. You've had a good run. But then after that, we're going to start doing some host picks as well. Just because some of the games coming up are going to be hard for a 2-week period. So we're going to need a spacer game in there. So next episode will be Fallen Order, followed by Fenris's first host pick.
Okay.
If you would leave us on a review or a 5-star rating on wherever you get your podcast, because we distribute to all of them, would be very much appreciated. Helps us with any algorithms and helps us get our word out there. Big shout out to Infinite Backlog, where I put majority of the correspondence in regards to the show, as well as their awesome team there. Shout out to the rest of the Steam Machine podcast network, in which Fenris and I are a part of. Easiest way to reach anyone on there is the Discord, bit.ly/TSMP Discord, all caps. Anything you'd like to plug, Fenris?
Not really. Just Steam Machine, which you've already done.
Yep. Once again, it's our community, so we have nothing but positive things to say about it. But compared to the rest of the negative internet, they really are a chill bunch of people. So head on over there if you would like. So this has been Spectre approved. I'm Adam.
And I'm Fenris.
And thank you for listening.
All right.